I only have one bolt left that's holding the transmission to the engine. So I've got my engine crane, and what did I do else? Yeah, and I got the engine kind of tilted backward a little bit too much. I really need to disconnect. I need to disconnect the hoses. The engine is kind of tilting. Yeah, you can tell that's a little bit too much, and it's probably crushing some things in the back. Here's the current view. Ooh, this thing is also like, I forgot to disconnect this cable. Well, I kind of did, but I did not unplug it. And here's the transmission plug, which I unhooked, and so all those bolts are removed, well, that hold the transmission to the engine, the bell housing bolts. There's this one on the top that is also out, but it's still in place, and there's one more bolt that's kind of goes through the starter, so that's the only bolt that's left to undo. I also disconnected the transmission cooler pipes. So this is the tool that I've been using on so many occasions. Well, removing and installing transmission, actually not just one but more than one, and that's what I've been using. This works. So if you look at the transmission, so this one is easy to get to. These, I mean, there's something here that is not that hard to get to. These two are more of a hard to get to, I guess, because they're kind of up on the side, and these three are the hardest ones. This is still on the side, kind of easy-ish, and these two are actually in the middle of the tunnel, so you kind of have to tilt the engine or the transmission. You really have to give yourself about a few inches of a space on the top of the transmission, so you have to kind of tilt it this way. So either lift the engine up a little bit in the front and let this sag down. So that's how you do it. Yeah, these bolts are pretty easy to get to. So I'm just going to remove these two that hold the cable bracket to the transmission. Here's one. Oh, that's tight. So there's the second bolt. There you go. Two of them. This is a useless thing now. Well, actually I can actually get inside and just remove all of that shifter stuff on the top. That's quite of an angle, really, for the transmission, but I like it that way. So since I don't have a transmission jack, I don't have a proper transmission jack, so I'm creating my own. So I have a regular, like 2.5, whatever, 3.5 ton aluminum jack, and I'm just attaching this wooden platform to the jack, to the pad. I got what did I do? So I drilled, well, 2 holes, tapped them for M8 screws, M8 threads. So these screws go in. Now I got this piece of wood, drilled 2 holes in it, and I'm going to run 2 bolts through this and just attach it to the jack, and that is going to be large and stable enough to actually support the transmission and lower it. So that kind of works for me. That's all that it takes. Get this one in. Like so. Over-engineered. There. I can even test it. So that works. So that's the transmission jack in its glory. So now this can just go under the car where the transmission is. I'm really this close to getting the transmission out of the car. Boys and girls, we have a separation, and I have a light shining straight into my camera. How stupid of me. But the bottom line is, I have the separation. The transmission, the torque converter is disconnected from the flex plate. I don't think there's anything else in the way. So let's see what happens if we try to lower this. Alright, so probably should pull it this way a little bit. Right. The only problem is that it's too tall. This assembly of the transmission and the jack and the other stuff, it's just too tall. So that's like 4 inches, 5 inches, not 6, and that's not good enough to remove the transmission, because a fair amount of the transmission is still up in the tunnel. Well, now it's time to grab the transmission and pull it out of here. And I guess I'm going to end this day right here. I got the transmission, the automatic transmission, out of the car. Still spins, good transmission, about 85,000 miles on it. The next thing is getting the flex plate and the automatic flywheel off the crankshaft. So there is a, so since this is an N52 engine, it's got 6 bolts on the crank shaft. These are 19mm bolts, surprisingly. Well, they're not 19mm bolts, they are 19mm hex head. Alright, so well, that's it for today. So this is a BMW, and as any BMW, this car just cannot have no oil leaks. So here's an oil leak, and this is engine oil. This one was supposed to be special because pretty much every single gasket on this engine or seal was new, replaced less than 1,000 miles ago, including the oil pan gasket. And what I didn't replace was, I guess, a couple of things: the rear main seal, the front main seal. Those I didn't touch. The engine had only 65,000 miles on it when I bought it, so I figured those would last. But the oil pan, that just usually is just replace it whenever you can. I replaced it, I installed it myself, and there is oil. Doesn't matter how many times you wipe this off, it just develops a drop of oil here and here too, actually. So now it's time to find out if it's the oil pan or possibly the rear main seal. I've dropped things down, literally. I dropped the front differential, I dropped the rear differential, it just fell. That was a whole lot of fun. But this transmission, I really don't want to drop that. This is all girlish stuff, really.